Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending our MoxiWorks Hours Essentials session. I forget what number we're on. We're probably at number 8 or 9 or something like that now. We have a lot in store for you today, so we're going to just jump right into it. And before we do, just want to introduce some of our team members. My name's Alex Castro. I'm going to be your host today. I'm going to be co-hosted with Amy Chereau and Brett Calthorpe, who you've heard. You guys want to say hello to everybody?
Howdy, howdy. I will be I'll be lurking in chat until I'm unleashed live.
Awesome. So Brett and Amy, they're our subject matter experts, otherwise known as our SMEs. And so if you have questions during our session, feel free to type those into chat. And when you are typing those in, please send it to everyone, okay? So that when we respond, we can respond to everybody and everybody could see the responses. If you'd like, also alternatively, you can write your questions down, email them to us, or reserve those until the last 5-10 minutes of our session today, where we're going to give you some time to unmute yourself to ask your questions live. This session is being recorded, and I know we have been a little lax at sending the follow-up email. I will get that out to you by tomorrow at the latest, but these sessions are being recorded. So anything you type in chat is going to be also included in that recording. And that follow-up email will include any links, any PDF files, any a link to the next session as well as the recording, the Zoom recording, so that you can be able to watch it at another time or share it with a colleague. Our agenda today, like every week, even though our topic is going to be unique, each one of our MoxiWorks hours are unique in content, but the agenda remains the same so that we can manage some consistency throughout our time with you. So we're going to include supporting your MoxiWorks journey. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we support you and how you best can get supported, right? A quick tip from Amy. She's going to give you kind of something that's a quick golden nugget so that you can quickly like take that. Okay, yeah, I can use that very quickly. And then Brett's going to go into 15 minutes of MoxiWorks. We're just going to go deep dive into CMAs today, right, Brett? Comparative market analyses. And I believe it's going to be nice because he's going straight into the product, live demonstration. So that's your.
It will be live. Yes, sir.
That's in for a treat. I think everybody loves it when Brett goes in live. It's just, it's just awesome. And you may want to follow along with him if you'd like, so that you can, those hands-on activities are always good. And then we may possibly have, if we have time, group discussion, Q&A. All right, so why does it matter? We want to use these MoxiWorks hours to provide recommendations, right? So that you can hopefully become more comfortable, more engaged with the platform. We want also in future MoxiWorks hours, we're gonna have other experts in addition to Amy and Brett, who are going to share their successes and possible some other fellow agents that's on our call today who are also willing to share some of their successes and wins and so provide some testimonials for you. And also we want to make sure that you all understand all the support resources that you have with respect from the brand as well as from MoxiWorks. And support, if you haven't done so already, you want to go to support.moxiworks.com. If you'd like, you want to open up a new browser and type that in right now because there is so much information. I can't stress that enough. If you have a problem, an issue, a question, support.moxiworks.com, whether it's on the Realogy side, whether it's on the MoxiWorks side, one stop button at the upper right-hand side of that screen. You don't need a login. Support.moxiworks.com, get that ticket number. And that's what we use to escalate any issue that maybe is kind of lingering and not being resolved. You don't have a resolution to that, okay? Also, just wanna make sure that you all understand there's an Autobot where that help button on the bottom of every page, it's a red help button, bottom of every MoxiWorks page. You can click on that and type in for some additional resources. That's 7x24, always available, and as well, live representative help, okay? In addition to that source where you put in that your question or problem, support.moxieworks.com. There are industry-wide case studies, hot tips, PDF files, short snippets of recordings. Some of you who are looking to get ahead of, let's say, the Moxie Engage, whether you're an agent or on the leadership team that's on this call, go to support.moxieworks.com. You will have a wealth of screenshots, how-tos, so that you can kind of be ahead of the curve, so to speak, before you get your launch training on Moxie Engage, for example.
Alex, can I ask you a question real quick? This is George Font.
Yes, George.
Yes, these are probably no-brainer questions, but I just wanted to get all my ducks in order. Is our agency that I work for, are they on board with MoxiWorks? Is that why I'm on this program?
Yeah, let me just quickly do some housekeeping there, George. Yeah, if you have specific questions regarding your affiliate, right, your company, please type that in chat. We'll be happy to address those with you. And George, you can email me directly. That's fine too. By getting the email to this session, you just hit reply, and then we'll get that email and we'll reply accordingly. Okay, so just another thing is that we just want to make sure that we use this time to discuss the products, right? Strategies, deep dive into the products, okay? In terms of help, troubleshooting, issues regarding that kind of things, put that into support.moxieworks.com, whether it's a Realogy or the MoxiWorks site, okay?
All right, so, I'll throw the 2 questions right into chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, George. Appreciate that. And just real quick, just to make sure everybody's level set, right? Marketing Pack, MoxiPresent, Moxie Impress. Hopefully all of you by this time have been launched on these 2 products. That's phase 1. Phase 2, Moxie Websites, Moxie Engage, Moxie Talent. That's called the Productivity Pack. Today, we're going to talk about the MoxiPresent, which is part of the Marketing Pack that hopefully all of you are taking advantage of. And without further ado, I think Amy is going to take over for your quick tip on MoxiPresent.
Thank you. As Alex said, on these sessions, and thanks for a great intro, Alex, so succinct, loved it. And we're in here in the chat box for the rest of you. So we're getting some great direct messages, Alex. And George, talk to us in the chat so we can talk to you. And I see all your comments. We'll get to you in just a sec. What we like to do is do a 15-minute deep dive live when possible on a tool so you can go practice. But we also like to give you some quick tips to think about. And that's what I'm going to share now. So our quick tip today has to do with MoxiPresent, but it also has to do with what Brett is going to be sharing you about doing CMAs. So my question for you, if you can go to the next slide, Alex. Are you ready for virtual presentations? Please go to the next slide. If you're going to be doing buyer presentations, CMAs, as you know, in MoxiPresent, you can print them out and deliver them. You can email them to people. But if you want to present the content virtually, you can present in MoxiPresent, and Brett will show you that. But in order to do that, you need to make sure you have the right tools and technology so you come across professionally to your client. Remember, technology is there to support you, not to hinder you. And you need to practice, 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 because if you are clunky with technology, they don't think about, all they think about is, ooh, if they're not good with being able to speak into a mic or move a mouse, will they be professional in selling my home? I know it's insane, but that's what happens. So 2 quick tips for you. First of all, figure out the tool that you want to use. Are you going to, if you're going to do a virtual presentation, are you going to do FaceTime? Are you going to do Google Meet? Are you going to do Zoom or something else? Whatever it is, have an account that you can put those links in an email and tell your client, be very specific. Can't wait to talk to you about your CMA. You told me that you have time 6 o'clock tomorrow. Please look in your email. I will send the link in email, but I'll also put it on your calendar. If your clients are in any kind of corporate job or an entrepreneur, they know how to use a calendar. So make sure you're sending it to their calendar. And if you do not know how to send something to a calendar, talk to the admin in your office or find a 14-year-old. They'll help you. But that will also increase your level of professionalism to the client. Also, do you have an FAQ on how to join? If you have some older clients, which I have in mine, because I've been in business a way long time, I have people who don't know how to use this kind of stuff. So I have a tip sheet. And where did I get it? Well, I pay for a Zoom account. And on the Zoom site, they have a beautiful FAQ. And my clients appreciate that because they're nervous, they want to get on. So that's the first thing. But when you do present, there's a couple of other things you want to talk about. So if you could go to the next slide, my last slide, and hopefully this is not all old information to you all. I hope that this is helpful. And let me know in the chat if it's helpful. You want to practice. So there's a couple of things I want you to think about. If you are going to be doing more and more virtual, which we're still doing, we're going live, but we're still virtual. A couple of things. What does your desk space look like when you present? Like right now, I'm live. So I actually have in the background a nice little vignette. All the stuff that was there before the class is over on the side. You can't see it. All my papers and my bowl for my breakfast, they're over there. So it's a nice background. If I wanted to, I could put up a virtual background. But if you have any issues with anything with a green screen and when you move and it looks weird or your hair looks weird, try to just keep it simple. Keep a nice background like you're seeing that I have. Hopefully you think my background's good. You might have a branded background. You're going to see Brett will most likely use a branded background today. Clean, organized. Equipment. Please consider getting a webcam. Don't just use the webcam on your laptop, and think about a microphone. So I'm actually using a microphone here today. You'll see it there. And we put some of the best technology. Now, I want to share with you, this was technology that the video team at Realogy shared with us. So when I said, what should I buy? Tell me. And they said, how much money you got? I go, not a lot. The video team at Realogy sent out a package of what we should get. And some of the ones we found have been very useful is the Logitech webcams. It's the Brio. I have the Brio right now. It's very clear. So think about having a webcam, it's better. And think about getting a microphone. Now you might go, really? But it really does make a difference. And if you start doing other things like videos and podcasts or anything else, having a microphone will make it even more effective and it adds to your professionalism. So the microphone, there's many out there. You just want one. The one I have on the screen is the Audio Technica. So you're looking about $300 to get yourself set up. If you think this is the way where you want to get more professional, have someone help you. But those are my tips for using technology seamlessly in a virtual presentation. So I'm going to turn things over now back to Dean and Alex as we go into the live CMA.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. That's really good hot tips for I guess, some hardware to help with those virtual presentations. Awesome stuff. So next up, we have 50 minutes of MoxiWorks. Today's topic, creating a CMA. So Mr. Brett is on deck. Take it away, Mr. Brett.
Alex, thank you. And this is Brett on my own Logitech webcam. So good suggestion there, Amy. So yeah, so today we are going to go live into the product and show how to create very quickly and easily a CMA. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and share my screen and let's get started. All right, so I'll pull this up. Oh, I have to be given permission by Alex.
Hold on. Sorry about that. Let me.
He's always foiling me at every turn. What am I going to do?
Let me give you some Zoom power. How about that?
What we call a dramatic pause. All right, here we go. Bloop. MoxiPresent. Okay, if you can see my screen, give me a quick head nod if you don't mind. Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. Everybody, okay. So you can see that I am in MoxiPresent. I have my different options. I'm going to click a seller presentation. If I hit continue, this is where I can choose from templates. I'm just going to go with my default template today, just for time's sake. But this would be if you had other types of templates and things that you might want to use, you could choose them from there. I'm going to make this for my good friend Amy Chiro. And then here you'll see I can choose some listing sources. So I have several different MLSs, but I'm going to use the North Texas here. And now it will be, go ahead and pull up once I've selected that. Give it 1 second. We've had a lot of bad weather here, so hopefully my interwebs will continue to be good today. Maybe not. Try it one more time here.
Doesn't love me.
No, there it is. It was just slow today. Okay, so you can see for Amy, prepared for Amy. So when you go to create a CMA, you have a couple different options. You can either go ahead and type in the salient facts information on the property, or if it has a somewhat recent MLS number, you can use that. So what I've done is gone ahead and found one here in lovely McKinney, Texas, which if you're from that area, they have a John Williams Symphony night coming up that I got an email about this morning, which is why I chose them. So you can see here, just by putting that in, it brought in the photo from the MLS, the location information. This is all the information from the listing. Quick point that if I wanted to, I can change these remarks. Now, why would I do this? Well, let's pretend that this is not an active listing. Let's pretend this is a listing that expired. I could go in here at the very beginning and type in, you know, Amy, these are the previous listing remarks. I really think we should mention the home theater system and that you have a park behind you so you'll never have, you know, neighbors, whatever it may be. Sometimes we see those agents who will slip things in that we probably shouldn't have in there, you know, contact agent regarding, you know, refund or you know, whatever it may be. So, so you have the ability to go in and change these. I'm just going to use the defaults for now. I also have the ability to change the photo. Now for a listing presentation, this is great because if you've driven by the house, you can take that nice picture, put it in here, just makes it a little bit more personal. I'm going to go ahead and hit next and continue here. So where's my location? It's automatically going to be super centered on that address. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in McKinney in general, just because I know that I need to widen my search a bit because of the fact that it's hard to find listings in most of the country, including McKinney. So you can see that now, since I put in McKinney, MoxiPresent automatically has the borders there. And now it is pulling up the listings. And I apologize that my interwebs are a little slow today. As I said, we've got a lot of power lines down and things of that nature. So you can see that I've got 372 listings that come up. Well, that doesn't do us much good, does it? So let's go ahead and put in some filters. So you can see I can filter by price. I can filter by bedrooms and bathrooms. I can filter by, you know, other filters. So what types of other filters? Actives, solds, pending. So let's say I don't want coming soon. I don't want off markets. Yeah, we'll just take out a couple of those. Active time, if let's say that I only want to show properties that have been shown that they've been active for 90 days. And that'll keep, we all have that MLS property that's been listed for 476 days. The seller won't do anything with the price. That's double what it should be. So you have the ability to do that. And then you can see you have an ability for features here. So waterfront, you know, maybe there's a certain size I'm looking for. What have you. So it's very much like being within probably your local MLS. I'm just going to hit apply.
Hey, Brett, real quick, there's a flurry of questions coming in. Do you want me to hold them to the end or as they come in? What would you prefer?
If it's regarding the screen I'm on, go ahead and hit me with it. If it's more general, yeah, I'll let you use your judgment. But if it has to do with building a CMA, go ahead and hit me with it. So
real quick, our MLS only stores CMAs for 1 year before auto deletion. Does Moxie keep them indefinitely, or is there a time frame associated?
Okay. What do you mean it only stores CMA? So when you create present, there's no deletion. Yeah, right. The actual CMA, the feed comes over from the MLS, but we don't have an automatic delete of your CMAs.
Thank you. Next question. Presentations usually for clients that don't have an MLS number. My agents keep asking me that, and I guess they would have to fill out everything manually.
Correct. Yeah. If it's an off-market listing, you wouldn't have to fill out everything, but you do have the ability to add in custom properties. So you would need to fill that information in.
No. We're talking about the actual property that you're doing the CMA on.
Yes, yeah, and that's from that first screen for subject property.
Okay.
If I didn't have the MLS number to bring it in, then you would go in here and fill in at least the salient facts.
Okay, fantastic. This one you're coming up on, can I just ask it and you can answer it when you get to it? Do you mind?
You bet. Yeah, you bet. Go ahead.
Okay. We've noticed it doesn't pull closed properties very far back in time, maybe 2 years. Most properties we pull into Moxie for a CMA were last listed 5+ years ago, right? Because that's when, yeah.
Sure. Well, you have a couple options. Number one is for filters. You're sold 2 years is the maximum that you can put in there within Moxie. So sold within the last 2 years. That's as far back as it will go. If you have a certain MLS, I would say maybe put a ticket in on it. It could be just based on what we're allowed to get from the feed from that MLS, but there may be a workaround. But I know within the actual way that the product's created, 2 years is the default longest time back.
Thank you. Everything else I can answer in the chat. I really appreciate letting me interrupt.
Not a problem. No, we're doing good on time, so I don't mind that at all. So now it's going to replenish my listings here. And so I can have a couple different options. I can sort it by status. I can sort it by price. All sorts of things I can do on there. What I'm going to do is I've got in there 2 to 4 bathrooms, or 2 to 4 bedrooms, 1 to 3 bathrooms. And then under price, I have nothing, which is great. And then under filters here, we've got actives, pending, solds. I'm going to change that back to 3 months right there. And then the square footage is a little low. So I want to make sure I have lots of properties to look at. So I'm going to hit apply. This is the most fun part of creating a CMA, as you guys know right now, is to try to find any actives. It's almost all, it's difficult. So, okay, so let's just do this. I'm going to go ahead and pick our subject property.
The MLSs don't.
Yeah, which again, we've got here 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,800 square feet. So let's see what we can find that's the closest to it. So let's try to cap it at 3 and cap it at 2. We should at least have some good solds. Okay, all right, we've got 3 bedrooms, 2 baths and McKinney's right there, which is great. We can also sort it by the distance, which is the distance from the subject property, which is a great one to use as well. What I'm going to do, just for the sake of brevity, I'm going to click on a few of these 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You can see on any of them that I click, it'll pull up that information so you can take a quick peek at it. But if it's one that I want to include, I hit the plus, right? So now that one's included. I can go down here and hit Randy, that's a plus. If I sort by the date sold, new to old, this will give me my most recent comps first, which I always like to try to do if I can. So again, we've got a 3.2 there, 3.2 here, 3.2 here, and they're all around that same square footage, right? So I'm just going to give us a couple different ones. I'm going to pick one that's not a good comp, and I'm going to do that on purpose, and you'll see why here in a second. All righty. So I've picked a few there. Now, if I go ahead and go to the next screen, which is this continue button, you can see that now I have an option to show, here's my subject, 3.2, 400,000, right? So now if I look, what do I got here that's a little bit different? Well, sold prices, 400, 400, 400. I've got one that's 800,000. Whoops, how did that get in there? Well, I have a couple options. I can either add adjustments to figure out why the heck it's worth so much more money than all the other comps, or you can see here, this is the place where I would add custom listings. But last but not least, if I can just take an eyeball test and say, yeah, that's not a good comp, all I need to do is hit this red button and I can remove it. And now everything over here in this listing summary box will automatically recalculate, right? So I took that out. I like what I've got right here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue. Now, estimated pricing, estimated net proceeds. Now, based on the listings that you've got right here, the system itself will actually automatically calculate pricing based on 2 different ways. Number one is your price based on average sales. Number 2 is your pricing per square foot. You can see that it's giving us the average price of comps is 418. It's giving us the price on square foot is 434. Now, I can just go with what Moxie says, the AI, I can put in my own number. So let's just say it's 425, right? And then I can add in remarks. This is why, having not been in your home, this is why I think that we're probably in this area. But typically what agents do will create a range. So I'm going to go in here and just give me a 1%. Right. So I'm just going, okay, we don't know yet. I haven't been in your house, but based on what I think I know about your property, let's say it's somewhere between that and that. And again, I can enter in these remarks. Okay. Now, once I've done this, I hit continue, and now it will automatically have what my personal pages are for a CMA. And I want to highlight a few of these pages just because there's other places we can make adjustments. I've already told you about the subject property, how we can adjust the agent remarks there, right? If I go to my listing location map, this is always a good one to peek at. You can see that this is my subject over here, the gold, all the reds out here. If I decided, wow, that's a little bit too far, I could do exactly what I did before, which was go back to my listings and delete the 508,000, but I'm just going to leave it in there for now. You can see I've got my different comparables. As I move around the map, if I click 365, it'll automatically pull up which property that is. For my listing overview, I call this the Pinterest view because it just gives us those brief salient facts, shows us what the information is. Now, a place where you'll probably make adjustments based on your market is side-by-side comparisons. Typically, we give you a lot of information to choose from, right? So you can see there's all sorts of information in this. However, if you're taking a look and saying, okay, well, this is a crazy report, you know what can we do to make it not so much information? Well, all the properties, none of them have basements because it's Texas. So I can go in here and I said, yeah, that's kind of silly to have all that stuff. I want it to be more concise. I can actually go to my features section here and say, okay, take out the part about basements. They all have the same type of a roof. So I can take that out, or you leave it in, whatever it may be. Waterfront. Sometimes it's stuff that you want in there, but if you just want to make it more concise, you can actually add or subtract items that show on there. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and click off here. And now when I come back to this page, basement will be gone. So it's just a little trick to make it a little shorter for it. Now, if I go under status comparisons, this is a really nice overview that shows us our bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. And why I really like this too is it gives us a good snapshot of what's happening in the marketplace because it shows the last listing price as well as the sales price. So you can see that for the vast majority of these properties, they all sold over list. Really nice to be able to have that conversation with your prospective seller to talk to them about what's going in the market and pricing strategy. Another thing I really, really like is if we come down in here on your price and days on market, you can actually, if you want to include this, if it tells the right story, great. If it doesn't, you can take it out. But this shows, you know, how's your pricing based on how many days on market it is. So we can see we have a slight downwards trend. Same thing with price and size. We have an upwards trend. I always say if it helps you tell the story, leave it in there. If you don't want it, if it doesn't help you tell the story, you can always take it out. So you can see we've got a number of different things in there. Pricing analysis, this is where we show that range we talked about earlier, and it explains to your prospective seller the price. Now, where do we talk about having that consultation? So this is the last thing I'll cover, and then I'll quickly mention how to create a custom page, but pricing analysis. So I've got this information. And again, I've walked into this house. I've never been to China Berry Drive. I've never been inside this home. Now, after walking through the house, I can say, now that I've been in your home, let's actually take a look at what pricing should be and find out some more information. So that's where I can go to my net proceeds sheet. Now, if I look, I don't really have any information in there. So if I click on estimate, this is where you're going to find that estimated net proceeds. This is where I could have walked in and said, okay, well, what do we know at this point? Well, we know a couple things. Let's just say we're going to price it at $425, right? Walking in there, we probably know, okay, well, you know, it's a 6% listing, so we'll say that and that. Maybe a $500 escrow fee, whatever it may be, title insurance, whatever your typical numbers are, right? And maybe we have an idea that we know that there's a, you know, $3,000 assessment coming up that we want a home. And then we say, you know, well, we're going to buy the seller a home warranty package for $425, right? So if I save that and walk in with this data while I'm there in the house, if I go back to that page, you can see under net proceeds, this would be the one I would probably name before. right? Or pre-consultation. Then we could go through and have a really honest discussion, and you can actually use multiple net sheets. And this is important when you're on that seller presentation or consultation appointment. So how do I do that? Very simple. I go back to estimate. I go back to my estimated net proceeds, and all I have to do is hit copy, right? And so I can name this one as net proceeds discussion. I can spell. And so let's say, okay, now at this point, we learned that they have a $200,000 mortgage. I'm going to do something that a lot of times your broker doesn't want you to do. I'm going to go 1.5% on the listing, and we'll give 3 to the buyer. And then let's just say, okay, we need a repair. So under custom costs, I can say, well, we need to repair garage door. Maybe that's $500, right? And you can add as many of these custom costs as you want to. Now, if I hit save and continue and go back in here, I've got my net proceeds where I've got the first one, but now I've got my second one, right? So again, it will show the whole story of how we're having that talk with them, right? And then finally, of course, we've got our agent profile that tells everything about us, how they get a hold of us, etc. Now, if I want to add a page, super simple to do. So all I want to do is hit add page. I can create it from new, or I can add from a library. Create new, you have 2 options. You can upload a PDF. So if you have a PDF with more information, perhaps about the home and the housing development or the homeowners association, you can literally click upload PDF pages, select the PDF. It will automatically make a page for each page in the PDF. So if you have a 10-page PDF, it'll automatically make 10 pages in your MoxiPresent presentation. And then you could go through and decide the ones you want to keep. If you want to build a page, this is where you want to add in images or videos, etc. So I'm going to talk about adding a video. So if you have a real nice little custom video, all you have to do is hit build page. For video, I usually tell people to use this one here on the far left, which is just one panel. And then all you do is click on video and then paste in a link from YouTube, Vimeo, or Dailymotion. And then you'll have that in your presentation. Now, once you've done it once, what's really cool is if I click on add page, add from library, I've got it in there, right? So these are my current report pages, but if I go to my pages, these are all pages that I've created. So let's say I wanted to add in about why I live in Plano. So if I said add, now if I go back to my property and look for why Plano, here it is already with the video, right? So once you've made it, let's say you worked 4 or 5 different areas, you can have collateral for all the different types of areas you had, and then very quickly and easily add it in there. You know, you can do this with PDFs. You could do this with basically any page that you create in here. Testimonials, why work with me. Perhaps your brand has videos. You can use all this type of information. And once you've built it once, you have it at the touch of a button from your library. So very easy, quickly to create this CMA. Now, the last thing I'll mention is about automatic updates. So if I want to send this to somebody, we can either do print versions, which are static PDFs, or we do web. Typically, you're going to send a web version. What's cool about this is when you send a web version to somebody, it's effectively a link. So every time that person clicks on that link, it will update the information. So if I have a bunch of solds, obviously not a whole lot's going to happen. Perhaps this contingent will go sold. But if I was doing a buyer tour and I had 10 active properties and they looked at it this morning and then tomorrow they looked at it and there's 5 active properties, it really helps tell the story of what's happening in a market. So no matter when they pull up the report, you or them, it is always accurate with the most important data synced from the MLS over. So that is a very quick version about how to create a CMA within MoxiPresent. Now, if you didn't catch everything that I went through, don't forget we have support.moxiworks.com. Now, important thing to note about support.moxiworks.com, and I'll pull it up here for you because I always like to make sure people saw this because I get asked a lot of questions, obviously being the Moxie guy. So here's MoxiPresent's area under product help. You can see if I look at all 44 articles, I literally have information on buyer tours, how to create them, seller tours, adding pages from your library, emailing your presentations, whatever it may be. Because we're not a new company, we have a ton of content on this website. We have hot tips. We'll tell you, here's some really great how to work with multiple net proceeds sheets, like what I taught you guys earlier, how to calculate drive time. And the other thing that I always like to mention this is because you are representing your brand for the most part, or you're representing your company, your product champions. If, let's say, I'm getting ready to get Moxie engaged, but I don't know what we're getting, or I don't know what it looks like, really nice ability. You can come in here. We've got 42 different articles on Moxie Engage, and you can do a search of the help and find basically anything you're looking for. So if you're saying, hey, how does neighborhood news work? You have a quick little video. None of these are an hour long. These are all 2-3 minute videos. So you can get in here, start looking at some of the videos, and you'll begin to get a feeling as to how these products work and what you're going to be getting. So that way you're ahead of the curve when that property or when that technology becomes available to your agent. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and toss it back to Alex.
Can you all hear me okay?
We do. I think we still have some good questions in there to pass at Brett. If you're
Absolutely. We should ask some of those questions.
Actually, there was a solution. I just want to make sure that I got it right. There was a lot of conversation about finding old listings, so that maybe were around 5 years ago. And Claudia just said that instead of putting an MLS number in, she put an address in and it came up.
So
that's good.
I'll amend that if I may. It pulled up comps, but it did not fill out the information for the subject property.
Okay. So Brett, how many years do we know offhand? If not, we'll find out how many years MoxiWorks holds old MLS data.
We don't actually store any data in terms of MLS data. It is always pulled from so it's MLS specific. So it's whatever the MLS allows us to bring in. Typically, as I said, there's that 2-year listing mark, but I don't believe there's any type of ceiling that I've heard of as far as that. It's usually whatever the MLS will send over.
Okay, great. Couple more questions. I'm
Sure.
going to just head up to the top.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. So a couple of questions through chat, Brett. Somebody on the leadership team or manager would like to help somebody who needs help on a MoxiPresent presentation. How are they able to, I guess, provide assistance? Does the agent able to grant access to that manager or broker owner?
That I don't believe you can at this point. It's something that I believe is coming where you can like impersonate somebody, but I believe at this point it would be you would need to sit down with them and help them out with it.
Okay. Thanks for the
clarification. It may very well be coming, but I do not believe that that's an active feature yet.
So just to give a little bit more clarification, the person who asked the question can impersonate the agent.
Oh, good. Okay.
But when they try to go in, it bumps them out. So we're wondering if maybe
I would put in a ticket on it. Yeah, like I said, it's something that I think they're working on, but I wasn't aware that it's fully launched. So.
Yeah, so I'll clarify again. I can impersonate when I am in desk, but once I click into MoxiWorks from that person's impersonation screen, it takes me back to my personal account.
Yeah, typically that's the way it would work. Now, if you're an admin, there's some admin functionality, but again, with the realty companies, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like at this point. So I would put in a ticket for it just to get the 100% answer for you.
Just for clarification and confirmation, Brett, the number of comparable properties, is there a limit?
Not that I've seen, but I mean, again, you'd want to keep it concise. You wouldn't want to have a ton of them in there, but it'll pull in whatever's coming in from the MLS. So.
Okay, and then just kind of, and we'll let Amy ask a few other questions from chat, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands. Okay, so let's say you're finished with this CMA, yes? What is best practice? Once it's done and we don't want to print it, we want to email it to them. Is it best to we're going to hit this send envelope icon right here that's on the screen?
That's typically how I would send it. Is by using that send envelope or that send through the screen if you're sending it to somebody. You can always create the link and send the link.
Okay, very good.
But I would usually use the send functionality. And this becomes more important once Engage is launched as well, because Engage and Present work very well together.
Very
so
good.
So it's always best practice to try to use the send within Present, because
Great tip.
yeah.
Great tip. Amy?
Thanks, Alex.
Yep.
Just an overall question. Some people are asking about if we're breaking out these 15-minute sections so they can listen to them. We are breaking out these 15-minute sessions, and they're going to be on in your universities, so you can download them, but only brokers and product champions. We had a little bit of a time lag, but it should be happening soon. And as soon as they're ready, we will let you know. But we're building all of the recordings, but we wanted to find an easy way to get them to you all. So we're waiting for in the universities for the cohort to be built. It should be any day, and we will let you have them. And those are the 15 minutes of MoxiWorks, just the 15 minutes that Brett just did. We have 6 topics for Present, and we are working on 6 topics for Engage, which will happen in a couple of months. So when you start getting the CRM, you'll have some great stuff as well. So let me go back to the questions. And Alex, thank you for letting me answer these questions. I appreciate it.
Yep.
The other, and if you see any that I miss, please let me know, because we've had quite a bit of questions here. Someone asked if there is any place for the actual size of images for these presentations. Do we have any of that in support.moxiworks.com? Brett, do you know?
I don't, not that I've seen. I know that typically it'll bring over untruncated images from the MLS, depending on how your MLS works. We do have a listing manager that is, I'm not positive if it's active within our Realgy accounts. And with listing manager, you can upload your own photos, and it will automatically replace those in MoxiPresent or on your website. But I'm not positive if that's active. It wouldn't probably be active until websites go live at this point. But I haven't been given any kind of directions as to how big the images can be or not. So.
Okay, and they're getting pulled in from your MLS, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, you can add custom images. So, for example, if I'm doing a buyer tour, when I do the buyer tour example, typically my image is a big sign that says "Welcome to Plano, Texas," right? So you can do that, but usually the images are going to come over from your MLS.
Okay, and I don't know if that answered our question, but here we go. I do want to make a point that some people are asking why you did a 1% increase when you did the range of price. And
I just pulled the number out just for the demo. I could do a 0.5, I could do 2, I could do whatever.
Well, 1% is what we recommend in our training. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, and you can also do your own. I mean, you can put in your own custom range pricing. I also see, hi, Pat. Yes, you can have a cover page. I opted not to have a cover page as part of my default presentation, but there is cover page built in.
Okay, let me keep on going through the chat though here for you. Can you create pages? The question was, can each agent create their own page and add it to their library? We answered, yes. Brett, you can also create pages at the company level and give access to all your agents. And correct. Then the question was, can we give access to some agents and not others?
You can actually share custom pages with whomever you would like to share those with.
Meaning you could do direct to agent and not do for everybody?
Correct. So if let's say you have a MLS team of 10 agents that work on, online leads, whatever it may be, you can actually just send it to the agents that you want to send it to.
Someone else asked, can they access this on their iPad?
Yes, we don't have an app for a very good reason. It works basically in any web browser. So if you're using an iPad, your iPhone, whatever it may be, if you're using Android, it will work on the web browser.
And a couple people asked about meeting in the box opportunities. That's what I mentioned about being up on your learning portals. So we have that. Someone else asked, and thank you, Joe, for opening the ticket on Moxie Impress, not really with what we're talking about today, but those great social media pieces in Moxie Impress. Right now, some of the brands have social tools where people can post and schedule. But right now you have to download them onto your computer and manually share them. So we're just finding out, we put a ticket in to find out if there's a date of that happening.
Sure. Yeah, and I do see a couple other questions. I just want to mention quickly to Claudia. I believe your primary MLS is set at the Realty level. So I would double check and make sure that that's correct there. And then you also asked about Testimonial Tree. Testimonial Tree is a partner for MoxiWorks. As we're rolling out in this early access, a lot of the partner content isn't active yet. We do have, over 50, 60 different partners we're working with. The idea is to get everybody launched first, and then slowly they'll be kind of rolling in more of the partnership content. So you can take a look at moxiworks.com. There's a complete list of our partners, but just know that most of the partnership functionality isn't going to be active at first because it's early access. We just want to make sure it's working for you.
Well, since you're there, why don't you take the rest of the questions? It seems like you're in the thread there because I've pretty much finished everything else.
Yeah, I'm just kind of peeking through them here.
Just one quick question there, Brett.
Yep.
One of our attendees asked about integrating other web pages within this presentation.
Yep, you do have the ability to embed. That's when you create remember when I created the page where if I clicked on the video button,
yep,
you actually have the video. There's one of the options to create the custom page where you can actually embed source code. So that would be how you'd want to add like a BombBomb video, a Matterport tour, and then depending on how the web functionality works, the programming works, you can embed that as well. You can also embed the neighborhood news sign up widget, which is great. So that way, if you send somebody a presentation right from MoxiPresent, they can sign up for your neighborhood news, and then they'll go straight into your Moxie Engage once you have that. And we'll be sharing a lot of these when we come through. So yes, and Alex is showing off his presenter view, which makes me happy because I don't see any notes about like this guy needs to update his bio and picture or anything like that. So.
Right. And then Brett, can you touch upon real quick to make sure everybody understands that you're presenting this virtually? Yes, it's you send them a link, they get the email from you.
Well, there's a couple ways you can use it. Yeah, I mean, personally what I coach agents on is you should have a pre-listing presentation, and you should have a pre-buyer presentation, right? That says, that's going to be more of here's how I sell your property. Here's more information about me. Here's some video testimonials of people who think I did a great job. This would be something that you could certainly send to them or share it just like I did through like a webinar or a Zoom or something. Or if you're face-to-face in a place where it's safe to do that, pull it up on your iPad, pull it up on your laptop, and kind of walk them through it. You can kind of walk them through it through the actual presentation itself. You don't have to be in the build mode, which is where I was, where you see pages, estimate, listings, etc. You could just basically share your presentation web view while you're there with them and walk them through it. So there's a number of different ways you can do it. I've also seen people use like Apple TV, put it up on the TVs.
Very good. And then real quick, Brett, let's say they have this CMA all prettied up. It's just how they want it. They walk into a presentation or they're about to present and an update on the MLS happens. Can you talk us through what happens to their presentation, just so everybody understands what's going on?
Sure. Basically, if there's been any updates and it looks the way it is, as soon as you go in here to start looking at the pages and the listing overview, etc., when you get into MoxiPresent, it's going to update that information. So if you've created it,
right?
automatically. The one number that does not recalculate automatically is pricing. So if you've put in there, I think it's worth this much money, or it has this sort of a range, that does not automatically recalculate because that is your opinion. So we don't think that should happen, but every other price status in that report will recalculate based on your MLS.
That's awesome. And then what is your suggestion, Brett, being the SMA, the SME, regarding maybe using this as a prospecting tool for everybody's sphere of influence, or SOI?
I think it works really well. I mean, people love to talk about real estate, and especially when you're hearing constantly on the news about what's going on. So being able to create, make an offer. First off, you could use this for promotion. You can use this tool very easily to create, here's why I'm a great agent, why you should work with me. And here's why it's important to know the value of your home. And then offering, hey, let me do a free CMA for you so you can see, we've had a crazy market the last 12 months. Do you want to know what your house is worth? This is a super easy way to do that. Because as you saw, it doesn't really take that long at all to go in and create a CMA that looks great in here. So, and the other nice ability is, instead of just doing one in the MLS, which is what most of your competitors would be doing, you again have the opportunity to, once you figured it out, I've got my library of content. So let's say that you're in Frisco and I'm looking for listings in Frisco, Texas. Well, I'll already have my library of all the extra stuff I would add in: information about Frisco, information about my brokerage, information about me, testimonial videos, etc. So all I really need to create is the actual CMA itself, which doesn't take that long at all, as you saw. So then I can very quickly and easily add in the other pages, boom, 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 boom. And in about 5 to 10 minutes per person, I can have something ready to send out. And they've got it, and they can pull up that information anytime. So definitely a great prospect tool. We've actually already seen some of the companies start to really push engagement with MoxiPresent by suggesting this to do that. Reach out to your sphere, offer to do CMAs, annual pricing adjustments, wherever it may be, or hey, if you have a house anniversary, send them a CMA that shows what's happened to the value of their house in the last year.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of maybe Ronnie, are you on the line? I just wanted to have him share. He said that,
Alex, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, guys, this is for everybody. This is how we've gotten our brokers, or they're called brokers in Washington, really, really good on this really fast. And what we did, besides the competition you talked about, was that we told everybody, call up your sphere of influence, call every single one of them. And what you say to them is, hi, Alex, it's Ronnie. How you doing? Listen, I've got this new tool and I have to practice, and it gives value on your home. I'd like to send you a presentation and have you give me some feedback on it before I have to do it in real life. So it accomplishes two things. It gets us into our sphere of influence, it gets them to help us, and it gets us to practice. And what all of my brokers found was that all of them that actually did the exercise, two things happened. One, they got really good at presents really fast. And two, every single one of them picked up a new deal.
I love it. And it gets them to bring their guard down. You're being honest, you're being vulnerable, and you're going to probably help them bring their guard down. That's fantastic, Ronnie. Actually, you know what? I'm going to have you teach MoxiWorks hours next week, if you don't mind.
Ronnie, that's awesome.
That is great. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, in fact, we're
my pleasure.
If it's okay with you, Ronnie, we're going to go ahead and kind of transcribe that and make that kind of little script that you shared available to all the registrants to this call. That'd be fantastic.
Sure, I'll put that together for you in a video.
No, we can do that. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing. And this is the contest that you ran in December. Is that correct? At your office?
Sorry, I'm muted. Yes, that was the one we started. We started with a competition where everybody who put out the most, whoever put the most out to their sphere of influence, got dinner for two at any restaurant they wanted. And I took my group and said, look, call your sphere and ask them to help you. Say, look, I need a favor. Because Benjamin Franklin said the fastest way to build a friendship is to get them to do you a small favor. Yep. So all my guys and girls went through this, and I've got a couple that got over 100 out. And it works really well because you get a chance to share something without saying, hey, give me business. And they get a chance to give you feedback. And while they're doing that, they start asking you about real estate. So it was really cool.
Very good. It's awesome. And as Angie said, you are a genius, Ronnie. Thank you.
Well,
thank you very, very much for sharing with the group. We really appreciate that. Any other questions? Amy, are there any other questions that we possibly missed going back into our chat? Anybody would like to unmute themselves?
Claudia just said something also. Claudia, you want to mention it? I thought this was great.
Yeah, so we're about to have what we call real estate reviews, and we're going to go into Moxie. We're going to use the CMA feature, and we're going to have one night, bring pizza in for everybody from 5 to 7, have them call their sphere and just tell their sphere, hey, check your email. I'm sending you a report that just tells you what your house may be worth. And, just drop them a CMA.
That's fantastic. And very easy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Alex, this is Pat and Shelley in Sparks.
Hey, Pat and Shelley.
Hello there. We would like to know if there is a way to integrate the new home resource, the BDX resource that we have, into the CMA as well as the MLS information.
I'm not familiar with the BDX. And can you send me an email on that? And then we could look into that a little bit and maybe do some testing on our side.
Absolutely.
And then Ronnie, I'm not sure if that hand raising in the chat is a recent one or was that old? And then Teresa, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hi, I have a question. As the Moxie product champion for our brokerage, I'm having a little trouble with being able to really use the product for the office because I'm not an agent. So I'm not connected to MLS. Is there a way to bypass any of this so that I can really use it and train people on it?
Brett, what's your suggestion on that?
I believe now this is something that has come up in the past, and I believe the last answer I got is that you would have to be an MLS member. I know that some MLSs you can have admin access, so you actually have an MLS number and an account to log in. But from what I understand, that's how that information is keyed in terms of the information between how we know who you are and where that information comes from the MLS. So I believe the current workaround is to basically you've got to find somebody else's to use. Right. Yeah, that's unfortunately that's as I understand it. And again, I don't know if that's something that may change in the future. It's just you have to have an MLS account of some sort.
Yeah, that's a great question, Teresa. And I think probably the best way to make sure that it works as like the agent's experience in your office is to borrow or share an account with somebody in your office, just like Brett said. That's probably the best way, at least for now, right? Until
for now.
Yeah, for now, because that way, it's somebody in your office, it's your MLS, it's an active agent, and you're able to walk through and test everything and demonstrate.
Yeah, because that puts their product use kind of at risk because they'll have their CMAs that they've saved, their templates and things that they might be using, because I'm only thinking that in our office, it would be brokers that I'd have to actually shadow.
Yeah, typically who we see this borrowed from would be a broker who has an MLS account, but they're not really in production anymore, but they still have an account. So they're not really using it. That's typically where I see.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that, guys. Though MLSs are really cracking down on that. Michelle, you had a really good comment in the chat about how to maybe get around that. Do you want to mention it? She's not talking.
Hey there, guys.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. I do a lot of one-on-one with our agents, and they do Zoom. So if you make them a co-host, then they can share their screen with you, and then they can offer you control of their screen. So both they can control your screen and they can control their screen, and you can control their screen as well. So that works out really well. Plus, you can do it through Zoom, which is great for pandemic right now. You're not looking over your shoulder or anything like that. And it is more powerful that they can do hands-on. They're doing it themselves than just teaching a big group of people with just your demo. It goes one step beyond what we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Hands-on with Zoom, with somebody else controlling, but also just wanted to kind of point out what Laura Lewis also shared with everybody. Some MLSs are finding people for using other people's login, so to speak. So probably that Zoom way of sharing and maybe, sitting down next to somebody at the office, they're logged in, they're there, and then, you're kind of learning with them if that's the case. But
Yeah, it just makes it hard as the product champion trying to roll it out to really know what to be confident in what I'm doing.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the suggestions. We'll work on that.
And thank you all for sharing the ideas, Michelle and Laura, regarding things to kind of keep in mind as well. Well, we're at that time. We appreciate everybody who attended, everybody who asked. You guys had great questions. We thank you for all sharing your ideas and successes and wins with us. We really appreciate that. We'd like to do the same and share with other people as well. So if you have additional questions, feel free to email us. Remember, support.moxieworks.com is your source for help, technical support, questions, things like that. With that, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and be on the lookout for the recording of this session. And thank you, Brett. Thank you, Amy, for the wonderful information and golden nuggets for everybody to take away.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
And stay safe.